got the signals for the Baltimore Colts. Unitas gives to Amici. The Colts are the world champions. Amici scores.
It's amazing, sensational, dramatic, heart-rending, exciting, thrilling finish in the history of college football. California has won the big game.
5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable.
This is Phil Steele.
This is Mike Burnham.
This is Wes Durham.
This is Mike Ashley.
Hi, this is Chuck Foreman, number 44 of the Minnesota Vikings.
Woo, mercy, this is handsome Jimmy Vane, the Boogie Woogie Man.
This is Coach Fry with Virginia Tech Football, and you are listening to Big Dog Sports Talk.
Are you ready to rock? Are you ready to roll? Okay, let's do it.
You're in the doghouse with Rick Watson on Big Dog Sports Talk, presented by Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment. Join us in the Family Fencing Studios and chime in on the McClellan Chiropractic chat line. He's keeping cool with help from Little River Heating and Air, but this show is straight fire. And now, the big dog, Rick Watson.
Rick Watson's got the mic, he's the big dog king. Cover sports so sharp, it's a New River thing. Virginia Tech fire, rapid pride too. Every stat, every play, he's bringing it to you. He's got that voice, deep as a valley, breaking it down, no dilly, no dally. Big dog sports talk, feel the bark. Got the scoop.
Susanna Hoffs. Didn't think that would bother anybody.
Calling plays like a coach.
Reaction Monday, I should say.
From the courts to the fields, the stories unfold. Rick's play by play, worth its weight in gold. With a laugh and a growl, he'll pull you in. Big Dog's podcast, let the games begin. Big Dog Sports Talk, feel the bark, feel the bite.
There's a lot going on today. Good morning, Stephen. Good morning, Prometheus. Donny Lind joins us at 7 o'clock, the head basketball coach at Mount St. Mary's. We'll break down the brackets. Chris Coleman from Tech Sideline at 7:30 will join us. He wrote a nice piece in reaction to Virginia Tech turning down the NIT and what appears to be a complete detachment from reality in terms of the Virginia Tech athletic department and its fan base. Interesting. I think I agree. And Todd Grantham. Spring ball gets underway this week for everybody in Blacksburg, everybody down in UAB. We can kind of get a look at what it's going to look like. Yes, congratulations to Galax, girls basketball champs. Go Maroon Tide. Matt, how are you, everybody? Hope you're doing well. Be sure to jump into our BDST bracket if you haven't already. You can just go to the ESPN Tournament Challenge, type in groups in the box, Big Dog Sports Talk, DAWG. Join. It's free. We'll pick them. We'll have some cool prizes. But make sure you get in. And we'll break it down with Coach Lynn. We'll look at every region. We'll go through it. and we'll have a great time. But I hope the weekend was okay for everyone. I was busy with our softball tournament. We had 3 games on Saturday. Our broadcast crew did a great job. People there working the game did a great job. And the Highlanders swept through. So we'll talk about that. Tech women found out where they're going to be in the NCAA tournament. Potentially, is that right? Did I see that correctly? Potentially joining up with Kenny Brooks. Could that happen? Didn't I see that? that could be a next round thing. And we'll see. Number 9 seed against Oregon, number 8 on Friday. So, yeah. ACC women had 9 teams get in. The men had 8 teams get in. And we talked about how the ratings for the ACC, whatever stock you put into that, how it was going to improve things for the league, and it really has. So I think they deserved 8, none of which involved the Virginia Tech men. It's interesting. So Virginia Tech turns down the NIT, and it has gotten just an unbelievable amount of negative reaction. I mean, it has been just – Tech fans are furious. I've heard from many of you. I've been reading one online. You go to X, you go to the Virginia Tech basketball account, and there are people that are just absolutely upset in every way, shape, or form that they're not going to the NIT. My reaction was completely different, although I was told that they would likely accept a bid last week. I remember when Mike Young was on this show, and he literally told me and us and you that the NIT was not the goal. So then I went back on it, and I went, okay. So I didn't really think much about it. They didn't make the NCAA tournament. These guys probably were not bought in to play in the NIT. Why play in the NIT? But, man, I'm telling you, people were just – and we'll talk to Chris. I think it led to Chris's article. So we're going to get his take on all this. I don't think he was happy, but I think he's looking at the overall picture. So I'm looking forward to that conversation. And I'm telling you, there is something off over there in Blacksburg. Full confession. You know, I've been trying to get Megan Duffy on for 2 weeks, so I called. And, oh, yeah, we'll make that happen. Okay, cool. Just let me know. We'll make it work for her. You know, I'd like to get her on to talk about, you know, the team and their big year. And then I hear nothing. Absolutely nothing. So I reach back out. Don't hear anything. Reach back out again. Oh, yeah. Let me check on that. And then nothing. So what I'm saying is, at least in the past, when you know that things, if you're not going to be able to have somebody on, you'll get a response. Well, we're probably not going to be able to make that work, or we'll try again at some other time. And that's fine. But the way it was just let go, almost as if, oh, and very little was done to correct it. So I'm not sure what's happening over there. It's the first time I've experienced this at Virginia Tech, even when we knew when Fuente was here, and that was just a no-go. When they were actually, Pete Morris was over there, the SID, his henchman, and they were just cutting down opportunity after opportunity. But you knew where you stood at least. This was just weird to be all, oh, yeah, that'd be great. And then just to have it, I don't know. So I guess she's not going to be on. Be great to have her on today or this week to talk about the tournament. I'll reach out one more time today and see, but it's just things like that that make you go, And I think that's what Chris is concerned about too. The other side of the whole not playing in the NIT, you're asking people for more money. You're asking for more money to do this. Where does this leave the program? We don't know. Already a lot of scrutiny about the investments that didn't pay off, about Mike Young. I mean, we're going to talk to Chris. You know, he had some insider info that might be an extension announced here. What is today? Now, today's the 16th. I believe he said the extension was supposed to be announced by the 15th, correct? Well, we're a day past that. Did that change? I mean, I don't know where all that stands, but I think we'll get some pretty good information. So I'm not sure exactly where things are or what's going on over there. I know James Franklin's got complete run of whatever. But I thought it was very curious, the whole response to trying to get Megan Duffy on the show for the last 2 weeks. I mean, if I'm a fan and my team doesn't make the NCAA tournament, I don't really care if they're playing in the NIT. Maybe because people know how much money they actually had. I don't know what it is, but the response has been crazy. Set up a GoFundMe so you can pay guests like Seth Greenberg. Well, he didn't get paid, which is why he never came on. But it is weird the way they let that just kind of drop. So I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not going to hide stuff from you. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to be very honest with you. So I've been trying. And then they just, nothing. And I don't think it's Coach Duffy. Like, I don't think she's getting the messages. You know what I'm saying? She was on the show 2 or 3 times after she was hired on the radio show. She was great. Talked about her family. So I don't believe she's getting the messages. And that's what concerns me. Like, is just no effort being made? Have they been instructed not to make coaches available? I mean, if you're asking for more money from people, if you're trying to create a more positive environment, why wouldn't you want your coaches out interacting? Or is it just selective people that you kind of, I know that's what Franklin's doing, right? It's all selective. I mean, Mike Young doesn't care. He came on the show. J.D. Byers came on the show. But I don't know. We'll talk to Chris about all these things. Anthony says the NIT just doesn't make sense in the current climate. The NIT is a shadow of its former self. This isn't the same tournament when Tech was winning the NIT, and the NIT was a bigger deal. It never was the biggest deal, but it was a bigger deal. You know, it's been so watered down. I mean, your number 1 seeds are New Mexico, Wake Forest in the NIT. And I'm looking at this field, and I don't see any benefit Tech would have had playing in this field. California and Wake's in there from the ACC. So, to be honest, it didn't bother me that they're not playing in it. We said this in November when Mike Young was on. Yeah, I think you're right, Prometheus, and I don't understand that. Like, which I'll talk about in a minute. Yeah, but Mike Young told us here on the show, this was all about making the NCAA tournament. This had nothing to do with being in the NIT. So when I saw that release, I just kind of went, okay, yeah. What are you going to gain out of playing in the NIT? It's not the same NIT remotely from what it used to be. It got restructured a few years ago. So fans are upset. Did you want to watch this team continue to play basketball? To what end? To be upset by somebody in the tournament that you shouldn't lose to? Would have to pay money to host and have all these things that you're going to be responsible for? TLB says fans may be upset because they perceive declining the NIT as I'm missing an opportunity to compete. Well, that's the other side of it. You're right. And that's what we're going to talk to Chris about. Fans want their teams to compete regardless. And you're right, Prometheus. It does come across that way, and I don't understand it. Like, you can still come on. You're still controlling the narrative by allowing your coaches to come on and talk about their program. I mean, people around here know me long enough to where I'm not going to ever put a coach in a bad situation. I mean, I want to promote your program. I wanted to promote Tech women's basketball. I wanted to get the ladies out there a little bit. Maybe I was going to see if we could try to talk to a couple players, before the tournament. But to just have it killed off, I guess, is the best way to say it. Especially after it was well received, going in, it was really well received. And then I don't understand. And I haven't gotten an explanation. But then I thought about, we had Will on a few weeks ago, and he said the same thing. They've been trying to get Megan Duffy in there for a little conversation. And I think he said they didn't get any response. So I don't know. I don't understand that. But we'll talk to Chris about all that coming up. I mean, nobody knows what's going on around the Tech's athletic department on the outside looking in more than Chris Coleman. So we'll get his take. And we'll get your thoughts on it. If they don't come on, it would make Franklin look bad. Well, Franklin doesn't care. He didn't care. He did Tech Sideline. I think he did Tech Sideline. He felt like he had to. He controlled that narrative by making it 8 o'clock in the morning. Then he immediately left because they wanted to hang around and kind of do a little get to know you a little bit. Hey, this is who we are. He got out of Dodge. Anthony says, back in the day, the NIT was useful for extra prep for returning players. Correct. Now with guys entering the portal, you don't know who's returning. And that's the other side of it. I think so. Anthony, I think Mike Young knows that these guys are gone. So why prolong it? I mean, people are asking me, you think this guy and this guy will be back? No, I don't. I don't think any of them will be back. I don't think any of the players at Radford will be back. No, I don't know. This is the new MO. You're going to be replacing 12 to 14 guys every year. So, no, I don't think any of these good players that Tech had are coming back. I think they're all going to be in the portal. I think they're all going to look for deals. I think some have probably already been contacted. Everybody talks about it being tampering. I'm getting sick of all these guardrails about like there's rules. There are no rules. Can we just stop? There are no rules. People are contacting people all the time. So, I don't know. It's weird. Queens, right? They're in the tournament. Year 4 being a Division I program. It's an incredible story. That university is going to be absorbed by Elon, but the athletic departments are going to remain separate. And their coach was talking about how SEC coaches were buying courtside tickets just so they could talk to their players. Right? To come talk to their players while they're preparing for their tournament game. So let's talk about tampering, and then let's talk about tampering. But in any event, we'll get your take on all that. It's the new era of things. I mean, we've already had the CBI cancel. They created this stupid crown tournament out in Vegas. That won't last very long. And I think the NIT is probably on its last legs too. I think the only way you're going to see teams play is going to be smaller teams that don't usually play in the postseason, whose guys want to play because they want to showcase themselves more to get better deals elsewhere. That's basically what you're doing, in my opinion. But from a Tech perspective, I really didn't think twice about it. But everybody is calling them soft, calling Mike Young soft. They're making all these memes, putting a Cottonelle toilet tissue patch on the basketball jersey. That made the rounds all over the place. But let me ask you, if you found out, here's the other side of it. If you found out that if they were playing in the NIT, how pumped would you be today? Would you be fired up? Would you be pumped up for that first round NIT matchup? I'm guessing probably not. What's up, Jim? Chris Coleman's article reflected the perspective of many fans. Yeah. However, some fans are also ready for the season to end due to how the year turned out. Virginia Tech could have communicated better. Yeah, that's been the biggest issue, is the lack of communication. Now, again, they're not obligated, I guess. I guess they look at it that way. It's just hearkening back to when Witt got here and when Fuente got here. That's what it reminds me of. It reminds me of that a lot. Matter of fact, it's almost exactly the same environment, because Justin Fuente did not do anything. He handled his own press conferences. I think he also did Tech Sideline once. And Pete Morris shut down every request, not only that we made, but that reporters made to talk to Justin Fuente. And that's what this kind of feels like now. And you might say, well, nobody has a right to any information, but don't you as the fans have some right? And this is where the whole argument comes down to. Now, for me personally, it is what it is. I've done this long enough. I don't get my feelings hurt about it. I would have liked to have at least gotten to know about Megan Duffy. Okay, no problem. We thought we'd give it a shot. Thanks. Appreciate it. But to act like you're going to proceed and then just quit communicating, that's the part that I don't understand. And it happened with Will. But you're asking fans to be more engaged. Your longtime donors. Jim McCallish has been there for how long helping out the program? You bleed orange and maroon, right? Yeah, Morris, and I don't understand. Like, you should be able to attach it. Your text, Morris's openings, by the way, do not show up anymore on the show. And I don't understand. I don't have the brain expansion power to understand why his other posts show up, but that one does not. Like, I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, for instance, you're not limited because you would not be able to put anything on the board. TLB says, games to me have lost their luster. Teamwork is an afterthought when players are being paid and can jump ship on a whim. Correct. And Mike Young knows these guys. He probably felt like they had checked out, and why go through that? Now, David Teal's post went viral because just last year he asked Mike Young about the NIT, and he was like, oh, yeah, we would never turn down the NIT. Well, I'm a competitor. I'm just paraphrasing, of course. That would indicate you don't want to compete. Well, and here we are. And I think that's the kind of thing fans are upset about, because that seems to be a 180. I'll be right back. And that seems to be the 180 about all this. Because that didn't take long for him to change his mind. That's what they're looking at, things like that. Wayne says fans can't complain about Tech not showing up to the NIT because the fans didn't show up for games this year. Tech would host, half empty if they're lucky, probably. The NIT is a pointless tournament. It's a way for certain facets to make money. Certain outlets will make money. That's all it is. And especially when the expansion comes next year of the NCAA tournament, then the NIT is going to even be less important. And it's probably going to go away. All the other tournaments that were created were just to make the handlers money, sponsors money. I mean, the CBI is a tournament you had to pay to get into. So it canceled, could not get sponsorship. Why would anybody sponsor it at this point? I don't know. The CIT was, I don't know if it's still being played or not. Who knows? And then they created this one out in Vegas for a few teams. Just a cash grab. That's all it is a cash grab. It means nothing. The games mean nothing. And to the point that was earlier made on these boards, why watch? Why would you watch as a fan? So for me, I just kind of looked at it like, well, for what he told us, Mike Young, that made sense to me. But other people are up in arms, and we'll get Chris's take on the whole thing. TLB says, let's see here. Morris, log on to YouTube on a laptop, not a PC. Yeah. Are you using your laptop, Morris? That's true. It won't work sometimes via the phone, I think. But maybe that's it. But then again, the other things are, I don't know. Or Morris, you can start just sending me the opening on the professional door text line. And I read it off that way. That way, at least your open will be on. That's the compromise that I can think of, because I don't see anything that makes any sense to me why you're not posting. Now, one thing with TLB, who had to go in because for some reason they caught his account up when other people were getting, dinged as being bots. So I control that now. So that's not going to happen to TLB anymore. So I don't know. But yeah, send me your opening via the text line, Morris, 391-0788. And we'll read it off that way, and then we'll talk to you normally in chat. That might be the best way to do it. Or you can just send me a text. You've got my phone number. And I'll read it off that way. That's what we'll do. Because without your opens, we can't have a show. Or at least the same show. Look, and there he is. Well, I've tried both. Sometimes I don't get other people's chat. We will get this fixed, or I will call the Pope. Pope, Trump, and Obama. We'll get this straight. Yeah, well, if in the meantime, you can send it to me that way, and I'll be glad to read it. Join our tournament challenge. I've sent a lot of you links. If you want a link, jump in. It's going to be fun. We'll have some prizes, and we'll pick against one another. Big Dog Sports Talk, DAWG. It's through the ESPN mechanism, and you don't have to have your picks in until Thursday. You don't have to pick the first 4 games, but if you think one of those first 4 teams can win, then you so you have 3 days basically to get your bracket done. So in any event, I want to thank our sponsors, Family Fencing, sponsor of our studio. Talked to Jason Green this past weekend. 540-200-8294, familyfencingnrv.com. McClellan Chiropractic, Mark Hunley, 391-0788. Oh, I'm sorry. He's sponsor of our chat room, Professional Door Incorporated. It's Monday for me too, everybody. With Travis Williams, residential commercial garage door, sponsor of our text line, 391-0788. Thanks, Trav. Congratulations, by the way, to Radford High School basketball. Remember, 10 in the state? Whatever that is. What did he send me? Hang on. Let me get this right. What did he send me? What did Trav send me here? Yeah, 11-2 in the season, ranked number 10 in the state. Congratulations. Awesome. His son plays on that team. Played on the football team, too. Here we go. From the winding roads of Hiawassee Hollow to Palm Coast, where we find the Hokies and the Highlanders crash and burn basketball teams. Just hard to swallow. BDST is live and online. There we go, Morris. We'll make it work. Good stuff. See, it's just that easy. It's just that easy. Thanks to Sundown Electric. They have a great reputation. I mean, nothing but positive reviews of their satisfied clients and their craftsmanship, attention to detail. They're awesome. Thanks to Jeff Smith and his brother and everybody. One of the most honest businesses around. They've, just like Travis Williams, they've built it from what their dad built. It's awesome. Ready, Set Fund, ReadySetFund.com with Bob Christ, BOBCRST11 at Gmail. And they helped Floyd County girls surpass what they made last year, $4,300, I think it was. National Bank member FDIC, the exclusive banking partner, yours truly, and the show. Thanks to Larry Ramsey. BDST Fan Question of the Week brought to you by the attorney Ryan Price, 701 West Main Street in Radford, Trust and Estate Planning. We have to come up with a good question. You know what? It's pretty easy. Let's come up with what's going to be the most popular upset pick of the bracket. Is it going to be a 5-12? High points of 12 against the 5. A 6-11? What do you got? A 13-4? Send me that. That'll be our BDST Fan Question of the Week. Little River Heating and Air, 1095 Radford Street in Christiansburg. So today, it's like right now, it's 60 degrees. And we got another cold front coming in. It's going to be down to 30 as a high tomorrow. 30. We were supposed to play softball tomorrow against Marshall. I don't think that's going to happen. But give Charles Lee a call. Get your units ready to go, save you some money long term. We're presented each and every day by Pulaski County Sports Entertainment. Stacy Compton's going to be on Wednesday. Talk about Pulaski County Sports Entertainment and the IHRA and that partnership. Thanks to the NRV Super Bowl, community for over 25 years. The weekend bowling, they're going to have an NCAA tournament special as well. Give them a call, 382-5525. And thanks to James Lawson. Lawson's Mobile Home Supply has been doing it since 1997. Thanks to all those folks that make this show possible. Possible. Yeah, I love that. That's trouble for North Carolina. There's a 6-11 matchup. Whew. Yeah, rain and windy today. And then cold for no reason. Wayne says, I also imagine with players being paid these days, NIT is looked at like we look at overtime, expect more money. Well, you never know. You never know how things are worded. I keep hearing lamenting about 2 days of severe storms. I don't know about the severe storms, but today is going to be just nasty. Rain all day. We start out at 62 and then tomorrow 30 as a high. The low, when we're going through the night, Tuesday night and Wednesday morning, is 18. And then By the weekend, we get back up into the 70s. Welcome to springtime in the NRV. Whew. All right, so looking at the brackets, I want to save most of this for Coach Lind, who I'm sure has already looked at this. Duke's the number one in the East. Arizona number one in the West. Michigan number one in the Midwest. And Florida number one in the South. I don't think there's any controversy about the number ones this year. Your 5-12 games are interesting because there's always one, right? St. John's with Rick Pitino against Northern Iowa. I don't think that one's going to happen because Pitino's too good of a coach. Wisconsin and High Point. 30-win High Point against a Big Ten team. Texas Tech and Akron. If you haven't watched the Zips play, they're pretty good. Vanderbilt and McNeese. I'm telling you, there are 3 5-12s that I think that's going to be fun. Carolina, VCU, the 6-11 game in the South. Tennessee gets the winner of SMU, Miami, Ohio. So the winner of that game will be an 11. So Miami, Ohio, you had all this idiotic speculation from morons like Bruce Pearl and these talking heads that said they didn't deserve to go. They make it into the first 4. And I'm glad. I'm very glad. Very glad. BYU will get the winner of Texas, NC State in the first 4. That's not going to be easy shakes for a number 6 seed. And then you have Louisville and South Florida. And Louisville did not finish strong. So your 6-11, your 5-12s, then, 10-7s aren't really an upset as much. What about your 4-13 game? Well, you got Kansas against Cal Baptist in the East. You got Arkansas and Hawaii in the West. Alabama and Hofstra. Nebraska and Troy in the South. Seems like there's always one 4-13 game. What's up, KB? Keon Brown chiming in. UConn is a number 2 seed, but lost to St. John's twice this season. St. John's won the Big East regular season and the tournament as a 5 seed. Yeah, I know. It's crazy. Rick, no one on ESPN talked about High Point in an upset. They're experts, so it isn't happening, right? Now, if anybody watched the ESPN selection show, I'm sorry. I never even turned it on. Never even turned it on. Troy Sarver says, feel obligated to root for Troy. Well, yeah, you got to pull for yourself in life, Troy. Keon, you're not in our BDST league yet, by the way. Everybody wants to pick against Keon. Keon is not in. I'm going to double check. I'm looking right now, Keon. You're not in. Let's go. Keon and I will break down. It'd be great, too, because it'll be the Wednesday after the first 4 stuff, the first 4, and we can start looking at this stuff. They are experts in not being experts. Yeah. Why would anybody sit down and watch that tripe? I can't imagine. Oh, my Lord. Whew. It's like I can't imagine anybody sitting down and willingly wanting to watch. Was last night the Oscars? Good God. So I'll be interested to see what Coach Lind says about upset potential here. I mean, Duke's got I got UConn potentially. Yeah. Hell, UCLA beat Michigan State in the Big Ten tournament. Michigan State's a 3. I don't think Duke's region's very tough. maybe the West, Arizona, Purdue, Gonzaga, and Arkansas. That's your top 4. That looks pretty tough to me. That's a good top 4. Oh, you are in there, KB? Okay, good. What's your toughest region, KB? Midwest got Michigan. Iowa State's the 2. Virginia's the 3. Virginia's got Wright State. And Alabama has Hofstra. Florida, Houston, Illinois, and Nebraska. Yeah, so by far, the West is front-loaded with their top 4 anyway, in my opinion. SEC got 10 teams in the tournament. Big 10 got 9, but there's the ACC and the Big 12 with 8 apiece. To Keon's point, only 3 Big East teams got in, and maybe that's why St. John's was punished, just because the league wasn't looked at or didn't have the metrics that it needed. Keon likes the East. Let's see here. Duke, UConn, Furman, Michigan State, North Dakota State. St. John's being the 5 there. I could see that part, yeah. Will Louisville show up and be a good tournament team? We'll see. UCF will probably beat UCLA. Ohio State and TCU. What's the best 8-9 game? Oh, I know what the best 8-9 game is. Clemson and Iowa, right? St. Louis might have something for Georgia, too. That's not really an upset. Oh, Keon, Wayne's got the smack going. You didn't see Keon's team? His team name is Bronze Flopping Picks. Uh-oh. I mean, here we are on a Monday. We're breaking down the picks. And then Wayne just
oh my. Oh, no. Oh, no. That was out of nowhere.
I mean, just went after KB. But the West, you got Arizona, Purdue. So happy for Queens. That's great. They're going to lose, but I'm happy for them. Gonzaga, Arkansas, Hawaii, and there's Wisconsin and High Point. So not one of the bozos on ESPN, or I'm sorry, ass clowns, not one of them even thought about High Point being a 12 seed that could win against Wisconsin. Okay. Correct, TLB. I mean, anybody who gives any credibility to any awards that are ever won anymore, come on. Come on. Let's see. I think VCU is going to beat North Carolina. I'm just going to give you some of my initial upset picks. What's your upsets, KB? How the hell are 10 SEC teams in there? Oh, wait a minute. ESPN. What's your upsets, KB? You like VCU? McNeese? And Vanderbilt? I like that one. People better watch that Hofstra, Alabama game, that 4-13 game. Tennessee could be vulnerable to SMU or Miami, Ohio. What you like, KB? I haven't seen Hawaii play. And Arkansas did win the SEC. Yeah, High Point to me, if this were last year's High Point team playing Wisconsin, I'd feel a lot better about it. So I get what you're saying, KB. You and I watched them all year. I agree. I'm not – this isn't in any way criticizing them, but they're not built the same way they were last year. I think people are going to want to pick South Florida to beat Louisville. Maybe that's the kind of game that, Louisville swells up. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. There's going to be something that comes out of nowhere and surprises us. But just looking at the initial bracket, those are the ones that I like. Then you get into the 7-10s. Like Santa Clara could very well beat Kentucky. St. Mary's is a 7 against A&M. 10. Miami has got Missouri. You can see Missouri winning that game. UCF beating UCLA. Absolutely. Morris says Wright State will beat UVA. Payback for Odom. I don't know. I don't see anything deeper than that. But we'll ask Donny Lind coming up here and find out. Michael B. Jordan 1. You mean from the From Dusk Till Dawn remake? Wow. He was much better in Creed. But it's Hollywood, baby. No 116s. No. Somebody just sent a text message about that. No. Houston and Idaho, right? But Iowa State, Tennessee State. Maybe some of these games will be close at start, but no. Furman, who I like a lot. I like their coach a whole lot, but they got UConn. That's a bad matchup for them. 3-14. Oh, I'm not slandering him, but that movie sucked. That movie gets way too much love. Michigan State, 3, North Dakota State. I did not see North Dakota State play all year. Gonzaga and Kennesaw State. Oddly enough, I did watch Kennesaw State play this year. They're good. But Gonzaga's got size. Now, these are 3-14s here. I do not think Wright State will beat Virginia. And I saw Wright State. Keon, you remember? We saw Wright State beat Radford up in West Virginia. When we played up there at the Greenbrier, they beat Radford by 30. Steve, what's going on with the chamber? He says VCU beats Carolina. Yeah, I think so too. Illinois against Penn. Anybody out of the Ivy League's always a pain, right? I didn't see Troy play. I don't know much about them. Nebraska feels like they could be upset there. Nebraska. Alabama, Hofstra. Hofstra's pretty good. Hawaii, I don't know. And Cal Baptist, I don't. Wright State is a rowdy Raider. So maybe a kinship to Radford. Well, they've already beaten Radford, so there's your bracket. Let me know what you think. It's a lot of fun. If you haven't jumped in, I cannot put the actual link here to join on the YouTube chat, but you can go find it. It's through the ESPN Tournament Challenge. You probably already have an account. It's easy. Click on it. Big Dog, DAWG, Sports Talk. And we get underway tomorrow with the first four. It's always fun. The first fours are great. I will always have nothing but just wonderful memories of Radford's experience in the first four in Dayton. And we'll talk about it here with Donny Lind when we beat LIU Brooklyn for our first ever NCAA win. And then they chartered us to Pittsburgh, where a few days later we were to meet the eventual national champion Villanova. But what a wonderful experience that was. And the people in Dayton, that whole operation, wow. I mean, wow. So good. So good. By the way, Steve, everybody wants Lauren back on, Lauren Sisler back on. Can you contact Lauren? Tell her we need to get her back on. Because a lot of people bought her book. Cal and Baptist doesn't go together. That's good for me. I like that. Uh-huh. 10 SEC teams. KB, did the SEC deserve 10 teams? Or is that just for reasons? 10? There you go. Morris finished Lauren's book. Awesome. Well written. Great story. Yeah, we need to get Lauren back on here. 10 SEC teams? Kentucky's not any good. They got a 7 seed. Tennessee's not any good. They got a 6 seed. Vanderbilt's a 5? Mark on the text line. Rick, you've had a guaranteed lock of the year in the first round that has happened each of the first 3 years. Well, you're correct, Mark. Thanks for keeping score. I have yet to determine my lock of the year, Mark. I have not done that yet. The one that people scoffed at the most was when I picked Furman to beat Virginia. And, of course, that happened. When Furman beat them. That got my bracket off to a great start. I had a great Thursday, and then all of a sudden it just went down the tubes. Thank you very much. So, Steve at the Chamber is going to reach out to Lauren. We'll get her back on here. Chamber Golf Tournament, April 13th at Auburn. Oh, that's right across the road from me. We'll go to the Chamber site for more details. Yeah, we'll go over there. That'd be great. I just walk right over there. Hey. Well, we're all in. The people that contribute on the show are in, but we're not eligible to win anything. If Rick wins, Keon has to play a sax solo. That's funny. How about Duke, Gonzaga, UConn, and Florida in the Final Four? Hey, that could happen. Sure. Sure it could. SEC 10 or whatever it is. How many did they get in? 9? 10. They got 10 in. Yeah, they got 10 in. Usually the lock is one that surprises people. VCU beating Carolina won't surprise that many people. So I need to look this over a little bit and find one that's a head turner. That's what I need to do. There's a couple. McNeese Vanderbilt's close. I like that one. I like that one. I'm telling you, I'm going to look into it a little bit more, but this whole Hofstra-Alabama matchup, we'll check that one out too. But no, I don't see any ones losing. I don't really see any twos losing. The mucky muck of the threes and the fours seem to be pretty. When you get to 4 and 13, I think then you start to see some of these games really get close. Alabama, Hofstra. Nebraska and Troy. We'll see. But good for the ACC to get 8 teams in. They deserve to have 8 teams in. It was a good league this year. If Carolina had their superstar, it wouldn't even be a thought process. I wonder if they got dinged in the seeding just because they don't have him. I'm guessing they did a little bit. If Nebraska gets a 4 seed, but Duke looks like to me they have a pretty, other than UConn, I watched Michigan State play UCLA, and I wasn't very impressed at all. That's a 3 seed. St. John's might be the issue there for Duke. We'll see, because Rick Pitino is just really good at what he does. Yeah, they did. They put 2 ACC teams in the last 4. Yeah, that's true. Very, very true. But at least they're in. I guess you could look at it that way. And you know what? SMU should be in. NC State kind of underperformed different segments of the season, but they should be in. They should be in. Yeah. Yeah, Rick Pitino is the best coach in college basketball. I know. But I think he's the best coach in college basketball. Maybe only second to this guy. He is the head basketball coach of Mount St. Mary's, Donny Lind. What's up, Coach? Good morning.
Hey, Rick. How you doing this morning?
Doing all right, man. Thanks for jumping on.
Oh, of course. Happy to.
Well, let's talk about your own tournament. Boy, you guys played really well. You played really hard. Talk about your team. A little bit short, but you had to be very pleased, right? Your guys really showed up at the end of the season, and you had them ready to go, man, in the postseason. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it always ends a little too soon. Like very rarely do you have a year that, you can go out on your terms. And, I was spoiled because in my first year we had that. And then, this year to, fall a little bit short, I thought our guys played really well down the stretch. Like you said, felt like we were in a really good spot going into the tournament. Thought our matchup was solid, and just, unfortunately, came out a little slow in the first half there, and had to dig ourselves out of 2 points too big of a hole coming down the stretch. But it was Sienna's a good team, and I think they'll represent our league really well in the tournament.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And you know how many times, right, you've coached in tournaments, you get off to a slow start, man. You just get behind the 8 ball, don't you? So early in the game.
Yeah, and these games are so the tournament games are hard. There's a different emotion, there's a different level of that guys are trying to play to, and getting settled into the game is like the most important thing. How fast can you get back to your normal, real, regular self? And unfortunately, like I said, it just took us a little bit too long to be us. And, that allowed them to build a little bit of a lead on us that was just a little bit too much for us to come back from.
And some things to build on. Obviously, it's kind of tough now in this day and age, but early return, you feel good about guys you're going to be able to get back. And I know you're already on the hunt because you're great at it. You're great at it, Raph. I know you're a great recruiter. No matter what's going on in recruiting now, you're always out ahead of the game.
Yeah, we're in the process of having our meetings with our guys. We have 5 guys who can't come back. that are done, that are actually seniors in college basketball, which is a rare thing these days.
Yeah.
And 4 of them, played a good bit for us. So we'll look different for sure. But, we're in the process of figuring out which of those next, 4 or 5 guys are coming back. It sounds pretty promising. And then we were already on the road this weekend and working and trying to figure out who we need to bring in and what our team is going to look like next year. It'll be different, but it'll be good. We'll have a good roster out there. We'll have good players, and we'll put ourselves in the best chance to win.
Well, before we get into brackets, of course, you and I affected in a similar fashion when we found out what happened with Coach Jones down at UNCG. You had a great post. You experienced Coach Jones personally and along your journey to be a head coach. He's going to be somewhere next year. We know that. That was a great post that he made 24 hours after that happened. So,
yeah, disappointing. Feel for him and Sharon and their family, but like you said, Coach Jones is the most competitive person I know. He is going to find himself somewhere where he can affect a team and help a team win, I'm sure. And I think that team will have a good chance. whatever team he's a part of, at whatever level he's doing it, that team is going to have a great chance to be successful. And Coach Jones is a better person than he is a coach, and so you really feel for those guys when the business gets them in a way that is not fair. But the other thing Coach Jones is not is one to wallow in self-pity and doesn't want anyone else to feel sorry for him either. It is the unfortunate nature of the career that he and I chose, that good coaches get let go too often for whatever reason. And, you just kind of got to, just like we talked to our guys after losing a big game, like, you're defined with how you act after this. It's easy to be a good person when everything's going right. It's easy to treat people the right way when, all your stuff is in order. But when things don't go great for you, the way that you handle people, the way that you act, the way that you, speak and talk to others, and the way you handle your business, like that really defines who you are as a person. And, Coach Jones exemplifies that all the time. And so, it's been great to see his reaction and response through all this.
Well said. Absolutely. And we're looking forward to an announcement coming soon about where he'll be next year. I know that'll happen. So, hey, Wayne asked, Coach, well, you have to get your team together, your roster, but what does the offseason look like? There are very few limitations now that there used to be, right? It's changed a lot.
Yeah. So, it's like I said, it ends so quick. And so, there's, last week, the guys, we start meeting with the guys and figuring out kind of, where their heads are at and give them some space to kind of decompress. This week is still very light. They can, lift weights. The guys, as long as they haven't told me they're leaving yet, they can come in and lift weights. It's optional. And my goal is by the end of this week to know, who's coming back, and have something from them to say, hey, I'm in or I'm out. Technically, they don't have to say anything, until after the Final Four, which is a new rule this year, which I'm not a huge fan of, because there is so much of this valuable time that we kind of end up in limbo. But my ask to our players is to let us know here by the end of this week, so we can kind of start back up next week with some team activities, some weights, some skill work, just to kind of refresh everybody, reset everybody. This is who we got. This is who wants to be here. Like, let's get to work. Let's get started. And then, we'll be doing that while we'll have visits pretty much every weekend as soon as the Final Four comes through, as to try to put a team together for next year. So there is more we can do, but there's also, between my hope is we have 6 players back, with 5 guys leaving that can't come back. If we have 6 or 7 guys that can come back, that's a pretty good retention rate on the rest of the crew. So that's my goal. And if we have 6 or 7 guys, we can definitely get some stuff done on the court.
One more for you, Coach. Do you and your staff, what's the effort in trying to, if guys are eligible to come back, to recruit your team back? Or is this just, let them make that decision and you try to help them along? Or I know you're always looking for the best option for the young men regardless. I know how you are. So,
yeah, I'm going to present to all of our guys, what our situation is for them. in reality. I'm not going to paint him an unrealistic picture if a guy played 2 minutes a game this year, but I really want him back. I'm not going to go in there and tell him he's going to play, 40 minutes a game and we're going to give him the ball and everything's going to be great. I'm going to paint them the realistic picture of what it would be like to be here from a, basketball standpoint, educationally, and now, an economic standpoint of what that would be, whatever we can provide. And then, give them the space to talk to their people and figure it out. The one thing that we do a really good job of is building real relationships with our players and helping them, and they understand all year long, who we are as people and what being with us, how that benefits them. And if they like that, great, then they will hear what I'm saying and want to be a part of it. If they don't like that, I'm not going to beg these guys to come back and play for us. I'll certainly explain to them, what it would be like and make sure that there is a clear understanding of what we have to offer. But I don't think, I want the guys here who really want to be here. And it's not for everybody, and that's okay. But yeah, my goal is to just present them what it is. It's recruiting, it's not just, hey, here it is and talk, but it's not the same way you recruit a kid who doesn't know anything about you. If the work we've done all year didn't show them who, how much we care about them and what we think of them and their game, then then they're probably not the right fit.
Yeah. I love it. All right, you want to get in the brackets? You ready?
Oh yeah, let's see if I can help. I think I've never. I think the last time I won a bracket challenge, I was like 8 or 9 years old. Unfortunately, now I'm far too emotional in my picking. I have too many friends, but I will try to give my insight on some of these teams that I've seen a lot or know pretty well.
All right, let's start with the East, where Duke's number 1 against. There you go, your conference champ. First of all, can the Saints give them any kind of a pushback? What do you think?
I mean, they will play hard. They will they will fight with them, but that's going to be tough. That's going to be a tough one for the league, unfortunately. I mean, there's, I'm a analytics nerd. That there's never been a team as good as Duke analytically in college basketball. This year's Duke team is the best team in the history of college. Well, not maybe since they had all this data to go to, but they're the best team that analytically has been seen in the last, 20 years since they started doing a lot of this stuff. So yeah, that's going to be tough. I like Duke as much as it's hard to say because it's hard to like Duke, but they're a good team, that's for sure.
And they're going to be healthy, aren't they? It looks like they're going to be fairly healthy for the tournament, which is
didn't seem to need it for the ACC tournament, which says
no. Is there one team that can give them anything at all in the East? Is it Rick Pitino? Is it St. John's? Who do you like? What do you think?
Yeah, I think I think St. John's was underseeded. You know what I mean? I think they're probably a 4, not a 5. And so, I could see there being a little bit of a chip there, and to have to play that game as early, in the Sweet 16. Duke can't be excited about that. To have to play somebody like that. Kansas, if Darren Peterson is healthy and plays for 35 minutes a night, they're a much better team than if he doesn't. It's just nobody knows, unfortunately, what you're going to get from the consensus top 2 pick in the country for next year. So that makes them a little bit tougher. And then I think it's hard to dismiss UConn on the bottom down there. Like they're phenomenal. They've been really good all year. They had one really bad loss, but otherwise, they're a team that I would imagine puts quite a healthy scare into just about anybody. And so there's, those guys. I haven't seen much of Michigan State. It's hard for me to write them off very quick. But I would think one of those 3 would probably be my pick in that region. Probably, shouldn't talk bad about Kansas or about, Louisville and Pat Kelsey, but it's we got history there, so I can't talk too good about him.
I understand. What is your upset heat check of the opening games here? Is there one that you like, lower seed?
I like UCF. I think Johnny Dawkins has done a really good job all year. They have some great wins. I'm a little biased. One of our guys went there last year, comes off the bench for him, Carmelo Pacheco, and had a really good year for UCF. But, they had some big-time wins. They beat Texas Tech. They beat BYU. They beat Kansas. They've got a really good team, and they're battle-tested. So I think they're one that I think they can beat your Bruins. And then I also think that they at least can put a scare into UConn down there.
Okay, there you go, peeps. Make notes before you fill out your bracket. All right, let's go to the West. Arizona. Now, for me on paper, I think this looks tough, right? 1 through 4 is pretty darn good. Arizona, Purdue, Gonzaga, and Arkansas won the SEC. What do you like about this region? And is Arizona vulnerable earlier than maybe other number 1 seeds?
Yeah, I mean, I think Arizona is maybe I'm a little crazy here. I think they're the second best team in the country, and with Michigan having to deal with the injuries they've had to deal with here down the stretch. That being said, like you said, this is a region that there are some unreal potential matchups down the road. Like a Wisconsin-Arkansas game is one that I think would be awesome. I think Wisconsin's they're in the Midwest, they're a little further away, they play an hour behind. You don't get to see as much of them. It's one of those teams that when we watch film, we end up having to stay up a little bit later, and you have them on in the background. And I've been really impressed the times I've gotten a chance to see them. Purdue has been, just rock solid all year long. They've got great guard play. But they've also, they've had a little bit of a stumble heading into the Big Ten tournament. So maybe that was, maybe that's what they needed. Maybe it refreshed them then to go out and win, those 4 games in 4 days to win the Big Ten. So I think, those teams, I think Miami's really good. I think the turnaround that they've had in 1 year has been impressive. As much as I like Wisconsin, I don't like them seeing High Point across from them because as well as I do that they can put a scare into people, and they've got high major talent to be pretty good. So I think this is one where it's hard to pick the 1 seed, even though the 1 seed is probably the second best team in the country, just because there's so many teams that could get them. Right, Purdue could get him, Gonzaga could get him, Arkansas could, Wisconsin could. I think there's more teams that could get him in that bracket maybe than in most of the other ones.
Queens won't beat Purdue, but what a great story they are. 4th year in Division I, the whole university is going to be gobbled up. They're going to keep their athletics department, but what a great story they are, right?
It is. Yeah, Grant Leonard is a really good coach. He's done a great job. They go from Division II to Division I. He gets the job and just figures out a way to be a little bit different. They play fast, really fast. They're a really good offensive team. They can really shoot it. They shoot 1 million threes, and they shoot them really well. I watched them. They played Greensboro earlier in the year. I think it was a regulation game. Then it was like 101-95 or something like that. They can really score the ball. And so, they'll be a tough out, but yeah, it's be tough. But it is a great story for them. And then, same thing like Kennesaw. I thought, Kennesaw is a team that could give some teams trouble.
Yeah.
I thought they have, a really good story, but they have a really good basketball team too. And then I saw they drew Gonzaga, and I was like, oof, that's a tougher one. Getting that 14 line is a lot tougher than if you can bump up to the 13.
Right. And I really think the winner of that Texas NC State game beats BYU. That's my upset special.
There you go. Yeah. They paper tiger, as they like to say.
Yeah.
Sometimes. BYU. Yeah. They've 9-9 in the Big 12. Obviously they have not been great down the stretch here, but they also have the best player on the floor. And in a tournament, if you have the best player on the floor, you're going to have a chance. But I can see it. For sure. It's hard for me to root against Will Wade at NC State. I think they can definitely put a run together. They got the talent. They just have taken a little while to kind of get all the pieces to work this year.
All right, we're breaking through the brackets with Coach Lind from Mount St. Mary's. All right, we're going to look at the Midwest. Michigan, there you go. They've been injured. They've been beat up. They're going to have UMBC or Howard. Go Bison, by the way. Good people down there at Howard. Or up there at Howard, I should say. Iowa State, number 2. And there's Virginia as the 3 seed. Bama 4. I've watched Hofstra. Why do I think I'm not letting that one go? I think Hofstra might beat Alabama. I'm not going to pick it yet. But what do you like about this region?
Yeah, this is the region with like the mid-major specials, right?
Yes.
This is the one where, you got St. Louis playing Georgia. St. Louis is awesome. They will certainly give Georgia all they can handle. You got Akron, who might be,
they're really good.
The best, maybe if you take the A-10 out, the next best mid-major team. I mean, Miami of Ohio got all the pub all year out of the MAC, but Akron was the best team in the MAC. They just happened to lose the one game they played to Miami of Ohio in a barn burner. Like you said, Hofstra, really, really good. They're a team that can put a scare into people. Then in their first 4, right, you got Miami of Ohio there, who could certainly beat SMU and then give, the Vols a run. You've got Santa Clara, who is, again, Gonzaga gets all the pub out there, but Santa Clara has NBA level size. They can absolutely compete with Kentucky, if not, be the favorite borderline in that game. So this is the one, this is the lead, this is the region where I think the mid-major upsets come through. It seems like there's always one every year. This is kind of the one where I think, you could see you could see, 2 double-digit seeds playing for a Sweet 16 appearance, on Saturday or Sunday.
I like it. I hope so. That's what makes the tournament, right?
I know. We didn't get much of it last year, so it would be great to get some of that back.
Yeah, it was boring. It was kind of boring last year. South region.
Not for me.
Well, not for you. Yeah, other than you. That was exciting. You're right. Florida, number 1. Houston, number 2. Illinois, 3. And Nebraska, 4. That doesn't impress me at all.
Yeah. They're because they're all, in my mind, they've got like 4 2.5 seeds. Nobody, none of those teams is going to win the national title. I don't think Florida's going to run it back.
No.
But I also think any 4 of those teams could make it to the Final Four, because this is that region that has all the parity. Where there's 3 or 4 teams that could easily get there and shoot. The way Vanderbilt looked earlier in the weekend, like they could easily get to the Elite 8 and be playing for the Final Four too. But they could also lose to Nebraska in the second round. So there's a ton of parity in this region. I don't think there's one team that is everybody's going to circle. We had 4 number 1 seeds in last year. I think it'd be really tough this year to end up like that. If nothing else, because of how the South looks with the amount of parity there.
Is that because of that, Coach? Does that make Florida, in your mind, the most vulnerable of the 1 seeds?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I just think their region is by far the hardest, or the most even. I think they are. Michigan is tough. I love watching them all year, but having to deal with Kaysen's injury here, I think it just eventually catches up to them. I just think it's hard for them to run the table once they get to the top end of the league. They struggled. Obviously lost to Purdue and really struggled in that Wisconsin game too down the stretch.
After VCU beats North Carolina, how far can they go in this tournament?
a lot of people like the Rams. That's a fun place to be when you're the upset pick. They're playing with a ton of confidence right now. I would love to see my friends over there. 2 of the guys I coach now coach on that team. Their strength coach is one of my best friends, so I'd love to see them be able to go on a little bit of a run. That being said, Illinois can win this region too. And if the 2 of them play each other in that round of 32, that would be a heck of a basketball game. That would be 2 just dynamite offenses, game that could end up in the 90s with 2 teams that can really, really score the ball. Versatile, fast-paced, the team who has the ball last wins type of game, which will be fun for college basketball, that's for sure.
All right, so you're getting a ton of questions here. I've gotten like 4 questions for you about the 5-12 matchup from the text line. Coach, which one? What do you like? St. John's, Northern Illinois, Wisconsin, High Point, Texas Tech, Akron. I think I know the answer. Vanderbilt, McNeese. If you had to pick a 12, which one's winning?
Yeah, it's good. The odds say it's going to happen. My 5-12 pick is Akron. If is the one that I would pick, and honestly, McNeese is probably my 1A. If Vanderbilt's good, Vanderbilt doesn't quite defend like at the level. That's why they're a 5, and that's why they had some struggles during the year in the SEC. If they're on their defense, McNeese won't be able to get them. But if not, that would be my 1A for the 5-12s.
There you go, peeps. Mark it down. Mark it down. Yeah, I think I like both of those. And I'm going to look at that Hofstra game very closely. I got to look at that.
That's an 11, right? The Hofstra got the 11 seed.
They're a 13. That's the 13. Alabama game in the Midwest.
Right. Yeah, I got it here.
I think they're underseeded a little bit, but I like them. I like them a lot because I've actually seen them twice. For whatever reason, I've found them twice, and I'm like, wow.
They have great guard play. Really, really good guard play, and that takes you a long way in March.
Agree, Wayne. Wayne says we need Silas to fill out a BDST bracket in our group.
Oh, don't worry. Don't worry. We'll get him involved. We will get him involved. So the family rule is that if we're in the tournament, we don't do a bracket because,
of course, yes,
your biases really come through. So this year we got a couple days here. We'll get him. He'll have one printed out. He'll probably have 3 printed out. I remember vividly those days as a 9, 10, 11-year-old filling out my bracket, thinking I know everything, and then we'll see how good of a dad I am if I pull him out of school on Thursday afternoon or not. We'll see. Long gone are the days with the rolling TV in the classroom in the afternoon. Unfortunately, we've come to a point in our society where I guess that's not acceptable anymore, which hurts my heart, but it is what it is.
The decaying of America when you can't have a TV in the class to watch the NCAA tournament.
Exactly.
I'm with you. Everybody should have an off day. We should all be able to leave work by noon on Thursday and Friday each day this week.
I know when I worked at Radford, I did. If I was sitting across the tracks at McAdoo's with Boyden and Brett every Thursday and Friday of the NCAA tournament. If we weren't playing, that's where we were sitting. I know they're not a sponsor. They should be, but we need it's a great time to enjoy some time with your friends and some good hoops. That's for sure.
Exactly. All right. Well, yeah, we'll look for Silas in the group. That would be a great idea. Coach, thanks again, man, and congratulations on a great push and what you're doing there at Mount St. Mary's, man. And I can't wait till you get them together, get you back to talk about your team a little bit. And if you have time, I'd like to get you on once we get to the Sweet 16 and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely, Rick. Absolutely. I appreciate you and all your support throughout the year. And I said to Sierra yesterday after we text that I don't want to look up what my record was this year, the weeks after I came on the show, because I don't think it was great. But I'm not going to look it up because I'm certainly going to continue to be a contributor whenever possible to the program. Some things are more important than winning and losing games, and Big Dog Sports Talk is certainly one of those things.
I hope we're not getting bad juju for the team there after the game.
No, of course not.
All right, Coach. Take care. Give my best to everybody. We'll talk again here. Guess what? About a week or so.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, Rick.
All right, man. Take care. Good stuff.
Bye.
There you go, Coach Lind. Thanks for the questions, by the way. He answered you directly. Akron and McNeese. Don't sleep on Hofstra. That's all I'm saying. Don't sleep on Hofstra. Chris Coleman from Tech Sideline going to join us next. And then Todd Grantham. So we're going to take you from the basketball conversation to it's the same week. Everybody getting started, right? Spring ball is here. Not only at UAB, but also in Blacksburg. So we'll get some insight as to how all these things come together, right? You kind of get a little take. This is really cool to be able to have an opportunity to talk to Todd about all that. Jump in our BDST Pick'em group. It's easy. You just go to the ESPN Fantasy, if it's an app or if you're on your laptop, whatever, your desktop. I've sent the invite to several people. Many people have asked in our text line, so just send it. I'll send you the link. Chris, you asked, did it work for you? Did I send you that link? I just copied and pasted. I think you could get on there and do your thing. So, yeah. There we go. Okay. So just let me know. Just let me know if everybody's getting in okay with the link that I'm sending. So join and have fun. It's free, and we'll see who rules BDST, and we'll have some cool prizes for you. I'm not eligible. Keon's not eligible. If Jen gets in, she won't be eligible. Whoever jumps in to our bracket that is a contributor to the show. But yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Thanks for the questions, by the way, for Coach Lind. Appreciate that. Yeah, I'm sorry, Bobby on the text line. Rain all day today. Yeah. Scroll link if YouTube will let you. Well, I can put the link up. Like I can copy and paste it, but I don't think you can join it. Because I did that on Friday and people couldn't click on it and go. So I just don't like the fact Morris can't get his intro. But I got Morris's intro in anyway. And he can still contribute, but for some reason it won't let him put his intro in. And I don't understand why. That makes no sense to me. Yeah, St. Mary's is really good. Tech found that out, right? Tech played them earlier in the year and found that out. Todd Grantham coming up at 8 o'clock. Thanks to Coach Lind. And we always are excited when we're joined by this young man, Chris Coleman. What's up, brother? Good morning.
Not so young anymore, dude. Sitting here bracing for all the tornadoes.
Yeah. It's gonna but you look young, though. You're young at heart.
Yeah, I try. I like to think so.
Of course, Chris has been with Tech Sideline since its inception. There's very few people know more about Tech athletics than this gentleman. And, Chris, I want to talk about – let's go straight to your article. Got a lot of comments, a lot of people. I know you did, a lot of reaction, and Virginia Tech turning down the NIT. What were some of your thoughts if people haven't taken the time to read your piece? It was terrific, by the way.
I don't think I've ever had an article, a basketball article, have that many comments before. It was over 100 comments, I believe, the last time I checked. And I put a poll in there asking people whether they agreed with the decision or not. And I think only about 6% of people out of over 1,000 voters agreed with the decision to decline the NIT, with maybe about 16% saying they don't care. So vast majority of people did not like that. I didn't like it. I had a donor text me and say, me and my wife had really been thinking about endowing a scholarship, and we had pretty much determined we're going to go ahead and go through with it. And now they're not. It was
wow.
The straw that broke the camel's back. And because they don't like the way the athletic department is run. And I don't want to speak for anybody individually as far as that goes. There are certain things these days that you have to understand about the NIT. First of all, this isn't about the NIT. I don't even think they should play the NIT anymore.
Yeah,
I think
agreed.
The NIT just makes more people mad than it makes happy. Yes. Only one team can win it. Most of the teams in it, their fan base is going to be disappointed that they didn't make the NCAA tournament. So they all want to win the NIT, but only one of them can. And in some cases, you get teams just deciding not to play, so it ends up just pissing people off.
Yeah,
it's like bowl games, right?
Yeah, it is.
It is. They're meaningless. That being said, as long as those games still exist, you should play them. And there's the new argument these days that it gives you a head start on transfer portal recruiting and everything. You can get started on your off season sooner. Last year, the teams that declined the NIT last year went a combined 160 and 169 this year. Not one of them made the NCAA tournament. Only one of them won 20 games, and that was Nevada. So there's no evidence to me to suggest that declining a postseason bid helps you for the next season. If anything, it just shows a lack of competitiveness. And that's my main issue here, Rick, is I have three basic requirements, really, in my head for Tech athletes. Don't flunk out so you're eligible to play, right? And with the amount of support they get these days and the number of Tech teams that announce that they're above a 3.0 GPA, that doesn't seem to be too difficult. Number two, don't break team rules. Don't go to jail so you don't get suspended so you're eligible to play. Right. That's not hard either. Just be a halfway decent human being.
Exactly.
Right. And number three, play in the games that you get a chance to play in. Like, I thought that was the easiest of all three of those basic requirements, but apparently not. So it's disappointing to me. I've made, for the first time in my life, I made a program-specific donation to a sport this year at Virginia Tech. And I picked men's basketball. And the reason I did that is relative to their competition in the ACC, they're underfunded. We know with the presentation they made to the BOV last August that they were dead last in the ACC amongst public schools and how much they fund their program. And number two, I've had a lot of sympathy for them with all the injuries they had this year. So I had a great deal of sympathy for them. So I gave them a little bit of money on Giving Day. Not a lot. Doesn't move the needle, but I just, rather than bitching about the season and being a part of the problem, I thought maybe I could be a part of the solution. And I'm kind of sorry I did that now. If they don't want to play, so I'm just disappointed in the decision all the way around. And just judging from the poll I put in my article, a lot of other people are too.
Well, along with your piece, and then the David Teal video from 2 years ago when he asked Coach Young, "Hey, would you ever turn down?" "No, we'll never turn down the NIT." "You kidding me? I'm too good." Yeah. So why the shift, right? You're right. And that part caught me a little bit like, that does make you think a little bit.
Yeah, I think our sources told us that they let the team vote on it. So I expect that's, Neo not going to have any interest in playing in the NIT, obviously. No. Maybe Toby thinks he can get his professional career started, but that doesn't make any sense. Assuming he wants to graduate, then he graduates in May, right? I mean, the NBA draft camp isn't until later this spring, right? It's not like it's next week.
Right.
It's not like you're going to be practicing basketball. You're going to be working on skill development during this whole thing. So to me, if you let them vote and they voted no, that might be an indication that you recruited the wrong players a little bit. If they don't want to finish what they started, then maybe that's an indication of why they kind of melted down and late in so many games this past year. And I don't like the thought of letting players vote. And I'll tell you why. It's like, let's say you're Ben Hammond and let's say you voted yes, and some of your teammates next year voted no, right? They didn't want to play. So your teammates deprive you of the chance to play in at least one more college basketball game. How does that go over in the locker room? I mean, we could solve this issue by getting rid of the NIT, which they should do, but you can also solve it with a CBA, and that's part of the things that's negotiated with the CBA. But honestly, this shouldn't even come down to a CBA. It comes down to basic competitiveness, in my opinion, and I'm not a fan of it. And you're going to point to other schools and say, "Oh, well, they declined and they declined and they declined." Like, I don't care. I don't care if they declined. This is about Virginia Tech, and I've never really felt let down before, but by the program, because sometimes you're going to win, sometimes you're going to lose, and again, relative to the competition, this is an underfunded program as far as men's basketball goes. So they've never really let me down before, in all those years, but they let me down this time, and when that announcement came out, I took some time to process it. I wanted to sleep on it before I wrote anything because I didn't want to. I don't emotional write. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah. I don't want to be that guy. So I slept on it and said if I felt the same way on Saturday, I'd write something. And when I woke up on Saturday, I felt the exact same way.
Yeah. It reminds me when they told us the team voted not to play in the bowl game to keep the streak alive. Right. Right. Well, that had more of an excuse. I can at least have some sympathy for that because
That was during COVID. And basically what you're voting on is whether or not you want to be locked in a hotel like a prisoner for a week to go to a bowl game. Right. So I had more sympathy for that than I did this. Plus that team went 5-6 and they didn't even deserve to go to a bowl game. The only reason they'd be getting a bowl game is because that was a crazy COVID year. Right. So that one didn't bother me as much as this time around. It's just like, okay, you can play. Now they did have some injuries too. Like Hansberry wouldn't have been able to play. Sincere Jones wouldn't have been able to play. 2 of those freshmen on the bench were redshirting. So by NCAA rules, they can't play. So if like Lowell and Neo were like, well, we're just not going to play, then yeah, you run into a big numbers problem there. But again, you could maybe communicate that a little better, or again, like you don't even hold the discussion. I think that just opens too many bad doors, so to speak. Like a chief that lets the Indians make the decisions ain't going to be chief for very long. You know what I mean?
Right. Chris Coleman joined us from Tech Sideline. Wayne asked you, Chris, do you think maybe the players expected money for the postseason? Is that a reason maybe why? They didn't look very close at the end of the year, likely not going to be back anyway. I don't think that's how that works. But
there's very, very relatively little revenue that comes in from the NIT. And I don't know what their contracts look like. I assume they have a rev share contract, but they have a separate NIL contract too. And, the NIL is technically separate from the school. I don't know if they have agents in their ear saying, you better not play in the NIT because if you enter the transfer portal, you might get hurt and blah, blah, blah. Who really knows?
Yeah, right.
But other schools have those same problems. I don't think as many schools seem to be declining this year. Last year, I found a Yahoo article that said 11, and I think this year it's like maybe 6. But again, I go back to the reason stated in the article where it said, we believe this to be in the best interest of our program. And, basically it said, we think this will make us better by declining the bid. And when I read that, I actually did research on the schools that declined it last year and found that they had a losing record. None of them made the NCAA tournament this year, and only one of them won 20 games. So I don't see a lot of evidence suggesting that declining a bid makes you better. In fact, it could point to some competitiveness issues in the program. A lot of those teams that declined a bid last year, one of them had their coach retired. A couple others have fired their coach. Pitt's on that list. Pitt declined it, got a lot worse. And now Jeff Capel is really on the hot seat, right? If he was already on the hot seat, he's burning now.
Yeah.
So just don't see any evidence that it'll make them better.
What's your long-term take for Mike Young? Contract extension, how many years? I mean, do you think he's maybe doing some soul-searching himself a little bit about this new era that maybe he underestimated?
I think he's been doing some soul-searching for a while. And I think that I do think this is a tough era for him. He built his team in a very, very specific way at Wofford, and it's tough to build your team in that way these days. His contract was going to expire after next season. We've been told he signed an extension, and it has not been announced. And I think they've backed themselves into a corner where they've, ticked off a good chunk of the fan base. Are you actually going to announce an extension for your coach with the fan base pissed off?
Yeah, that's a great point.
That's the corner they've backed themselves into now. He has to be extended if you want to recruit next year, right? I don't know, high school recruiting isn't as important as it used to be, but you still need some sort of – you need something. You can't operate with a guy being a lame duck like that. So there needs to be an extension if he comes back. You also – if he retired, you don't want Witt hiring the next coach. I think Witt has made his last major decision at Virginia Tech, and Witt's busy getting James Franklin everything he wants right now. So I don't think right now at this point in time he would do a great job at hiring a basketball coach. And besides, I think there's a good chance that Witt will be out when Tim Sands retires. And so Tech could be searching for an athletic director next year at this time. And that athletic director would want to hire his own guy. So if Mike Young retired, let's say Mike coached to the end of his current contract and retired at the end of the next year, And then Big Tech gets a new athletic director in next summer, immediately after they hired a new coach. It's just the timing on all this is terrible. It's Tech. It's like Tech got lucky with James Franklin, right? They got lucky with James Franklin, and they got lucky that they had a board of visitors and a big donor or two that were able to step in and make the hire, because obviously they didn't trust their athletic director to actually do it.
They're right.
You're not going to get lucky twice like that. You know, there needs to be some clarity with athletic director too. And if you don't trust him to make a football hire, how could you trust him to make a basketball hire? And you know, Jay Pearson can't bail you out every time. Jay Pearson is a big donor, but he's not an employee of the university.
Right.
I mean, whenever you want to make a basketball hire again, which whether that's this year, next year, or 10 years from now, it doesn't matter. This isn't even about Mike Young. It's Jay Pearson. What if he's closing a big business deal that week and he's got his plane flying all over the country, right? Sorry, you don't have that plane now. You don't have Jay Pearson closing the deal for you. You've got to do it yourself, right? And Virginia Tech, they need clarity with the athletic director position. You know, any good prospective head coaching candidate is going to want clarity about that, right? He doesn't want to hear, oh, well, we're going to hire you, and then probably we're going to have a new AD in 6 months. What if that AD doesn't like that?
Well, that's right.
Coach,
that's
right.
Yeah.
So we need clarity from the very top of the athletic department. And you know, we know Sands' contract expires next year, so I don't know. We might be in a big holding pattern here until Sands retires. And this is what I hate about big corporate atmospheres and things like that, is if they get people getting these big cushy positions and then they slap each other on the back and tell each other they're doing such a great job, and then then they retire and go away, and then you can finally fix the problems. We might be in one of those situations.
That's what it feels like. You're right. You're right. Well, and people keep asking me about a new AD and what they've set up, just what you're describing. I always answer, well, any new AD is going to want to come in and have full control over football. That hasn't been, it's not set up that way right now. James Franklin,
it's not. I mean, Witt is Franklin's pawn right now.
Exactly.
So to speak. Right. Yeah. That said, and I think it's important now. I think James Franklin is exactly what this athletic department needs for a year or two. I think he's going to light some fire, show some people how to do things that, quite frankly, we hadn't been doing for a long time. But long term, the athletic director needs to retain control over the athletic department, and that won't happen as long as Witt is here, because Franklin, all Franklin has to do is say, I don't want Witt Babcock anymore, and they'll get rid of him, right? And so, like, Witt has to do whatever Franklin wants, I think, to keep his job. Long term, Tech needs an athletic director that can actually step in and check Franklin, like if he overreaches or something like that. Like, you can't have a football coach. You can't have one person in the athletic department with so much power, right? Frank Beamer had that power, but he was a very, very unique human being who did not exercise that power in any way that would upset anybody. And, Franklin, and I like Franklin, but he has the personality where, he could, if he doesn't get what he wants, he's going to make some scenes behind the scenes, if you know what I mean. I think he did that plenty at Penn State, and I think he butted heads with the athletic director to a certain extent. But you need somebody. We've seen what happened with somebody in the athletic director having too much power with Bullen, quite frankly.
Yeah,
we've seen that. He very, very influential in the Pry hire. Very, very influential in the Mike Young hire. And again, I think Mike Young overall has done a good job, so I don't have anything against Mike Young. We read the ESPN article about him and Fuente. When one person in an athletic department has too much power and that person isn't the athletic director, then it could lead to bad things. So our athletic department, I think, isn't upright right now. It's unbalanced. It's the man holding most of the power isn't the athletic director, and it should be like that. Again, I think that's good for a year or two, because Tech needs that. They need somebody in there with some drive, and will push them in the right direction. But it doesn't need to be that way long term, because it could start having a negative effect on other aspects of your operation.
Well, and that falls in line with everything I've been told from people who work there, that it's James Franklin's show.
Yep.
It's James Franklin show. Get out of the way.
Yep,
right?
pretty much.
It is the way it is right now. Well, finally, let me ask you. We had a situation. I know, Will talked about it. Like Megan Duffy, right? We reached out 2 weeks ago. Yeah, we'd love to. Yeah, nothing. Do you feel a similar disconnect back when Fuente and Pete Morris were there with what we're getting now in terms of, I mean, you guys were able to get, Franklin in there and that was great. Yeah. But I mean, overall, it just feels like we're getting that same vibe.
Getting Franklin in was a little bit like pulling teeth. But which I kind of expected. I don't think he didn't have a good relationship with the media at Penn State. No. I don't think he fully grasped here that the media isn't going to be quite out to get him like they were at Happy Valley. Like in his press conference here, there were 2 Penn State media members here who covered him there. They just followed him down here and covered him. Yeah. It's like, why are you so obsessed with him? Right? I was like, Virginia Tech media isn't going to follow Justin Fuente around to do whatever he does for the rest of his life, No. So I think that's part of it. Now we've had some issues, we've had some issues, like we've been in contact with them about having some football players some men's basketball and women's basketball players on the podcast over the last month to 6 weeks. And the response we get has been, oh yeah, we'll get back to you. That sounds like a good idea. What'd be a good date? And then boom, they just break off all contact and it never happens. But then, they start up a podcast for Liz Kitley, and she starts getting all the football players.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yeah. So they're trying to keep it in-house as much as possible. And again, like, they know we're not out to get, or they should know we're not out to get people on the podcast.
Right.
Like if I have something to say, I'm going to say it in a subscription TSL Pass article that our subscribers can run. I'm not going to do a video out there just saying this guy stinks or burning everything down. Or, I mean, we're not like that.
No.
But yes, it's a harder to reach athletic department these days but not with the sports like wrestling and softball and baseball and sports like that. We get those. I'm not going to say we get them whenever we want, but those guys and gals are always perfectly willing and they like coming on the podcast.
Right.
But it's not like pulling teeth for some of the other stuff.
Yeah. Well, Chris, you're the best, man. Great stuff, man. Keep it going. Let people know what's the podcast going to be like this week. What are you guys getting into this week?
Today we are talking basketball. In fact, I'm going to head in shortly here in a few minutes. We're going to talk about women getting selected, and then I guess I'll repeat the exact same conversation I just had with you when we talk about the men. And then we've actually got a press conference with Franklin today because they're opening spring practice, I think, tomorrow. And,
right.
So he's going to address the media today. And then so later in the week, I think we'll do the football-only pod talking about the beginning of spring ball.
Oh, good stuff. So there you go. Tech Sideline fans, subscribers, lots to look forward to. Chris, you're the best, brother. Thanks for jumping on, man.
Hey, thanks, Rick. Appreciate you, bro.
All right, take care, man. There you go.
Yep.
Chris Coleman from Tech Sideline. Great stuff, as always. Direct, honest, and there you go. What are your thoughts? It all falls in line with what I've been told of what's happening over there. And we'll see how far that goes. Yep. We shall see. Your thoughts. What'd you think? I got you, Chris. I got you. Well, I'll tell you what, Christopher Lester, we can just go to ESPN Tournament Challenge and just Big Dog Sports Talk. You'll find it. Yeah. Let me know. Todd Grantham's going to join us next. Hey, Tebow, what's up, brother? Tech used to be known as a blue-collar school. Yeah, 100%. Now it's the total opposite. Yeah. Tech is nothing like it used to be. Mom worked, 43 years. That's awesome. Yeah. Probably easier to get coaches on when you're winning. I guess. We got Mike. But Megan's winning. Nothing. But he just described exactly what happened to me here on the show. Yeah, let's go. Hello? This thing on? But anyway, There's Todd Grantham joining us right now. Oh, man, see, he's smiling. You know why? Because he's back, and I know football practice is starting. He's excited. What's up, brother?
That's right. That's right, man. We get started. We're back from spring break, ready to roll, So got our first meeting this morning here in about 30 minutes, so get ready to roll.
Well, what's the first thing you and Coach Morton, everybody's looking for when these guys come back now? We always talk about it, right? You got to kind of get a little, all right, everybody went away, right?
Yeah, so, it's like anybody. I mean, even your listeners, they go on vacation for a week, and that first Monday back, it's like, oh, man, I got to go back to work, So we actually don't start practice till Wednesday. So, like, today is kind of like a lift, run, and we'll have some meetings. Things that we've already been doing just to try to get them back in. So for the first 2 days, we'll kind of try to get them back in, and then everybody's new. So basically tomorrow, what we'll do is at the end of everybody getting done lifting and meeting, we'll go out and we'll kind of walk through like where you need to go on the practice field, because nobody's been there, right? And nobody's done this. So that way it becomes a little bit more smoother on Wednesday when we actually get out there. So we'll actually go out and, hey, this is where you stretch. This is where we're going to do our tackling circuit. This is where individual is for linebackers, D-line, secondary. Hey, this is where our group period is. Hey, this is where we're going to do team period. So we'll kind of go basically walk through practice to kind of explain to them where they're going, how the rotation is, and that kind of thing, just so that you don't waste time, because Coach Mortensen, and I agree, wants to be out there, as minimal amount of time, under 2 hours if you can. And anyway, so we'll walk through it so we can kind of get rolling and get going on Wednesday.
Well, that's exciting. I know you have to be so excited because there is so much newness going on, right? And I know this is the kind of thing, knowing you, this is the kind of thing that helped lead you in this whole decision. This is why you keep doing it, is this whole vibe right now.
Yeah, I mean, this is what it's all about. I mean, this is why I got into coaching, to be around young people and with a sport that I love, and really a sport that gave me, a great career. And it's funny just watching, even the guys that we've signed, everybody, there's a little bit of anxiety. You know what I'm saying? Just first day, first impressions. And I mean, I've even gotten to the point now where I have a little sheet that I go over. Here's how we practice. In other words, you gotta, like, you don't got pads on, so I'm not evaluating your toughness. You know what I'm saying? You got to work with the O-line. You got to be able to fit up runs and without pads on. You got to stay on your feet. I even got it. Stay away from the quarterback. You know what I'm saying? Don't be reaching for the quarterback's hand. Don't stop, run by the quarterback. Just because those things, how do you practice? So I actually have a sheet that we go over with from a perspective of the things you need to do in practice and how we practice. And then I even have a sheet, that talks about, how we define a loaf in practice, because everything's about playing with effort and straining. And, the basic three things that we look for, in effort are burst, speed, and finish. And if those things aren't, on a play, well, then it's a loaf. And then we grade every play, because at the end of the day, you're going to set the depth chart based upon your production, your performance of what you do. So I think it's important nowadays that everything is outlined from an expectation standpoint of what you want. And then this is how I want to get it done. And then you go perform the task to get it done. So that's really what the next few days are about, is introducing those kind of things, because it makes no sense to go over how we're going to practice, until we actually go out on the field. Like, I'll actually do it today, and then I'll hit back on it again on Wednesday. So that way they've heard it twice before we actually practice. So that way they get an understanding of what we need to do when we get on the practice field.
What I like best about spring ball is it's just all about yourself. That's all you're concerned about, is trying to get this team as ready as you can for their off season in the summer to get ready for August, right? This is nothing more than UAB Blazer football, right?
Exactly. So this is really about, developing your team and evaluating your team to see, who can play where. Because defense is about, how do I get my best 11 players on the field, right? It's about tackling the guy with the ball. And that's, I think that's one of the advantages I got being from the National Football League, is because on game day, I was only used to having 22 guys active, 23 guys active. Well, what happens if somebody goes down? Who's playing where? So the roster for me in college is like, that's like a lot of guys. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have a lot of depth there, because, my whole thing with defensively is how do you get your next best player on the field? Meaning, okay, this is our top 11. Well, if one of the top 11 go down, I want a guy in the 12th, 13th range, not in the 18th range, because he knows what to do per se. So that, I think that's the biggest thing is trying to figure out what guys can do well. Who can cross train, meaning who can play the safety position and the nickel position, who can play corner and nickel, who can play both inside backers, who can play, nose and tackle, who's an end that could go inside and play tackle, from that perspective. So I think it's important to try to cross train guys, see what guys can do. And then that gives you a little bit of a feel for your personnel, for what they can do. And also, like, for example, and this is a little bit with me in my experience is I have a schedule for what we're going to do all spring, right? But I'm not going to do the next week until this weekend. Meaning I'm going to wait. I want to see what we do Wednesday, Friday. I have it already mapped out, but we're going to make sure that we get the things we need to get answered on Wednesday, Friday before we go to next week, and just build it that way, because we have a lot of time. It's really about, like you said, this time of year, it's about personnel, teaching guys how to play blocks, how to tackle, those kind of things, and trying to get a feel for who can do what, and what kind of position flexibility you got with guys. So that's really what spring's about. Like, I love this time of year because it's all about ball. You can coach guys, develop guys, you can see guys grow. Because once you get into the season, you get done with practice, it's on, like, you got to go. Like, you don't spend as much time with the players because you got to go to the next meeting. I mean, it's at night, so they're going to study hall, whatever they got to do. So they got their nighttime routine, and then you have yours, and it's on to the next thing, the next phase of game planning. So this is the time of year you get to spend a lot of time with your players, which I enjoy the most.
Question for you, Coach, about, you went through the workouts. Those guys could do a few things there before they headed out for break, but how much can you get an idea who's going to start just from watching film?
Well, so nowadays the depth chart, like, and I explain it, like, we actually roll the depth chart, meaning, like, okay, somebody's got to be one day one, right? And we actually two spot things from the standpoint of we can have two groups at one end and two groups at another end. Okay, so that way guys get more reps. Well, obviously I can only be at one spot, but we do split our coaching staff up. But we'll roll guys, meaning, okay, on Wednesday, this is how we do it. Group 1, Group 2, Group 3, Group 4 if we have Group 4. And then the next day, that depth chart's going to change. One, because, if the offense stays the same, then you go against the same players all the time. Okay, well, I want to evaluate you in matchups against different players. So we'll change the depth chart daily for a while, just so that guys are going against different people, and you got to earn your stripes. You got to earn your playing time. You're gonna set the depth chart by the way you play in the spring and what you do in the off season, from this summer all the way up until August. So you're going to set the depth chart. So nobody has a spot right now. It's all in pencil. And you'll earn that based upon what you do, on tape. And that's the way it's going to be done for me.
I like it, man. I like the plan. How excited is Coach Mortensen?
He's really excited, man. He's a little bit like Coach Osborne, from Nebraska. He's very intellect, very thoughtful in what he wants to do. Obviously, he spent 9 years at Alabama, so he has that system in place, which, that system worked for Alabama. You got to be who you are, and you got to do what's good for your team, with practice reps and how and it's a different age, meaning, like at Bama, when Nick was first there, like, you would have guys that would come in redshirt and not do anything or just play special teams. They might do that for 2 years. And then year 3, they're playing. Well, they'd been in the system for 3 years. So they kind of had some carryover. Well, that ain't happening nowadays. Every year is a new year, and you got turnover. And you got to figure out how am I going to get these guys on the field now? So that part of the game has changed a little bit over the time. So you got to adjust with that. So the biggest thing is with him is just making sure that we're all on the same page. and just making sure that we're maximizing our time to be able to evaluate the players. So he's got a good plan. We're looking forward to it, and we're going to get after it.
And I know this too. Now you can also, on the other side of it, it's like keep thinking positive here. You could get all sorts of surprises from what you see, right? You might have guys that's going to be popping here in the next few days, next week. You're going to go, wow, okay, now we're talking here, right?
Yeah, because, it's one thing to go out in shorts and, run around and all of that and look good. But then when the pads go on, it's a different game. There's a physical element involved to it. So that part of it will be new and something that obviously we're going to evaluate and work to improve with everybody. But yeah, there's always going to be surprises, both good and bad. And I think the biggest thing is every player has assets and liabilities, just like people. And what you have to do is say, what does this guy do well? And based upon the things he does well, how can he help our program? Okay. And that's really where we're at right now, is just trying to really learn like the things that guys do well and how it can fit within our program from a system standpoint, from a package standpoint. Like we could have a couple different packages to get guys on the field relative to the situation. And I've always looked at it a little bit like the military, like special ops. In the military, you have the Air Force, you have the Army, you have the Marines, you got Navy SEALs, you have all these different Rangers, you have all these different special ops that's what they're good at. Well, to me, that's the way you are as a player. I mean, this is my role. So I think it's just important that you define a role for every player and give them something to be a part of. And if you do that, then I think you usually get the buy-in you want. And, you've always got to stress the standard of effort. There's no excuse for not playing with physicality and effort. And that's always going to be the standard. So that's the thing you got to stress from day one. But really, after that, it's really trying to find out what guys do well and how we can package guys.
How much of a consideration is it? Because obviously you have to get work done. Pads are going to be on, but you got to keep guys healthy, right? Yeah. Or is this part of the process to teach guys how to stay healthy, right?
Well, yeah, but that's interesting that you say that like that, because if you look at the National Football League, they have a high, like Washington, for example. Look at the amount of injuries they had last year. Okay, and Dan Quinn's a friend of mine. I think you got to evaluate. Your body has to strain and get ready for a season. Like you have to beat it up. Like you can't just take care of yourself and all of a sudden you're going to go play. Like you gotta harden your body to play football. Okay.
Right.
So you have to do those things. Now, I think that, some of the things, for example, like goal line. Okay. Well, we're not going to go out there and be hell bent on goal line. I mean, we're going to go through it, but as far as we might have one session of 2 to 3 plays live on the goal line, because it's not worth the reward for the risk. Okay. So from that standpoint, we wouldn't do that as much. As far as tackling, like we'll have a limited number of sessions where we actually have live tackling, but at the same time, you can work to get in a hitting position and thud every day, every practice. Okay. The things that you want to talk about is you're always tracking the ball, tracking the hip. You're talking about getting a hitting position near leg, near shoulder. And then the next thing is, and you can work, and this is where I think we've always helped from our standpoint. Like when I went to Georgia, I want to say they were 119th in turnover differential between their offense and defense, meaning their offense had given it up. I think they were like minus 12 or 14 or something like that the year I went there. Well, we went from like 119th to like top 20 in the country because we created turnovers and they didn't turn the ball over. Well, one of the ways you can do that in practice is we're going to take the ball away from your ass in practice. Like we're going to work the top down, punch out the ball. The way the ball comes out in practice or in games on a runner is what we call top down punch out. It's basically an aggressive force of punching the ball out. And we're going to always look to do 2 things. Is one, we want to secure the tackle, get in hitting position. And the next thing is we want to take shots on the ball. Well, if we're taking shots on the ball in practice, that helps the offense learn to protect the ball. Okay. And not be careless with the ball to give them a teaching. So it makes your team better. So that's one thing that we will work on hard is the approach, the tackle, the thud, and then also working to do what we call top down punch out the ball, because it's the number one way the ball comes out in a game. And that is really something that can help your team, because when you go back and look at all these stats, the number one stat that really matters, obviously points is obviously the number one, but the thing that dictates a lot of that is turnover margin. Meaning if we're +1 at the end of the game, our chances of winning that game are probably 80%. Whereas if you're +2 at the end of the game, you're going to be 90+% winning the game. That means if we can get 2 more possessions or turnovers than the other team, we're going to win 9 out of 10 games. So, you know, that's a stat that matters. So that's what we're going to work on to try to improve and help our team.
Well, I like that, because I really believe, and you were in the league, so you know better than I, clearly, but I mean, hearing how little they hit and how much the NFLPA's got those guys not contacting each other in the offseason, no wonder we're seeing injuries explode.
Yeah, well, a little bit of it came from the CBA in the standpoint of, like, the players aren't required to be in the building as much in the offseason, okay? And that occurred because they wanted the extra game, and they had to make some concessions. So to get the extra game, they basically said you didn't have to be around as much.
Yeah.
So guys aren't there as much in what we call the OTA pre-spring stuff, meaning, you know, March, April, you know, May. They're not there as much. And then when you get to the, you know, the training camp stuff, then it gets into, you know, how much are you thudding and hitting? And look, football is a violent sport for violent people. You got to harden your body to play it. And there's going to be things that happen. Now, you can be smart with it. Like, in other words, like for a lineman, for example, like I always talk to guys, like, we don't want to sling linemen per se. You know what I mean? Because, like, and that's on both sides of the ball, because if I sling a lineman, well, I'm probably slinging him into somebody that's not watching. And in the unprotected position, well, that's when you get an injury.
Yeah. You get
So therefore, we don't sling guys in practice. You know what I'm saying? We're going to work to control a block and get off a block and do those things, but we're not going to sling a body that then he's not in control, and then he ends up going into somebody that's not watching, and that's when you get an injury. So all of those things are educations that, as a coach, it's kind of like your responsibility. Like, you kind of got to teach guys that, because they don't know. And I'll be honest with you, even in pro ball, like, we had to teach guys that. I mean, they could be coming from an elite program and they don't know that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's something that you got to take a little bit of ownership in to understand. Look, I got to keep guys healthy, knock on wood. And then how do we do that? And then, you know, we just try to educate guys as best we can to be safe. Just like you don't take shots, you know, guy coming across the middle, I'm not going to take a shot, you know, because everybody wants to impress you, right? Well, a guy's breaking on the ball, and you got to make a decision in practice. Hey, do I take this shot to make a play to impress the coach, or do I let up? Well, I want you to let up in practice, just because it's not worth the risk of injuring yourself or another player, you know, based upon, you know, something that can happen like that. So those are things and I actually have examples of all the things that we're talking about to kind of show them, you know, this is why you don't want to sling a guy. This is why you don't want to, you know, hit a guy coming across the middle that doesn't see you per se. So I have those things to be able to try to educate them. And it's all about education, just to get guys to do it the way you want to do it, to be as safe and as healthy as you can.
How realistic is it to say that when you guys are done in a month that you're going to have your 2 deep, or is that always something that's in flux before you get to that?
I think you'll have a feel of 2 deep and guys that you're counting on. You know, I think you'll have a feel of that. I mean, just because, you know, after 15 days, that's a pretty good amount of reps that you can kind of see where guys are and who's where and how you need to play guys and those kind of things. So I think after 15 days, you'll have a pretty good idea of what you need to do. I think the biggest thing then is then you got to do the what ifs. Well, if this go down, who's next in the game? Meaning, you know, like let's say inside linebacker for position. Well, if we call our linebackers, we call them Mike and Money. Okay. Well, let's say that our third backer is really our backup Money. Well, how do I get him in the game as a Mike per se? And if we're going to do that, how do I got to rep that? You know what I'm saying? So I think you gotta go through some of the what ifs as you go through practice, saying like, okay, these are our top 3 guys at this position. How do I get a rotation going? Just the same thing at safety. Like these are our top safeties. And then how do I get a position going? So if a guy goes down, the next guy can go in the game. And I think that's the thing that you really got to focus in on, during this time. And it's not about winning the day, meaning, look, you may have to put someone in a position that's going to be a struggle, but I'm not trying to win, March 18th. I'm trying to win in September and October. And you got to put guys in there to teach them and develop them.
Well, I like it. And as all you coaches are new, there's this staff, right? You have a new bunch of new guys. So this is a great time for y'all as well, right? I know you had a lot of meetings, but now you get to see it together on the field. That's cool.
We finally got our full staff here today. This will actually be, the first time that we've had everybody here like now. That'll be a part of what we're going to do. So, it'll be baby steps from that standpoint of making sure that we go over everything from, hey, where we're on the practice field to this is how we're going to team meet. We're going to break up our defensive team meeting and go to, position meetings. Like here's the installation of the day. And, and that's what we'll do really the rest of the next 2 days is kind of get ready, prepare yourself for your individual meetings. You know what I'm saying? And how are you going to plan your individual practice time, for basically what the installation is, meaning there's always going to be techniques involved with whatever you install. So you got to work on those techniques in individual before you go to a group and then go to a team, obviously. So that'll be really the focus of the next 2 days is really just trying to be attention to detail on the specific techniques relative to a position so that we can go out and maximize our time on the field.
And I can imagine, Coach, the community vibe's got to be strong. It's a program that, was ridiculously discontinued for a while, but it was the passion for the sport that brought it back with the fan base and alums. So people down there have to be pretty stoked right now.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's that optimistic that it's still a little caution, like, hey, I'm gonna take a wait and see approach, but there is some excitement around it. From the fact of who we were able to bring in from the portal standpoint, and some of the guys that we were able to get there. So it's an exciting time, and there's a lot of work involved between now and next August before we get started. But it is a fun journey. It is a fun process that I enjoy. I enjoy this aspect of it. So it's just a matter of working hard, being attention to detail what you got, and then getting your players to play the best of their ability. And if you do those things, let the chips fall where they can.
Well, I know it's going to be great. Coach almost says you're going to have him down there at some point in the spring to kind of watch the guys.
I mean, he's so busy, man. We got him at the back end of his tour. He's on the tour come this month. He's going, a couple different places. So anyway, we'll put him to work when he gets down here and get him rolling.
Well, man, listen, I know you got a meeting to get to. Thanks for jumping on, man. We're excited for you, man. Like I said, you've created a lot of UBA football followers. Now people want to keep up with it. It's going to be really cool to follow you guys through the spring. So,
well, I appreciate it. And everybody have a great week, and I'll talk to you next week. Okay,
Hey, real quick, what was the biggest fish you caught? What was the biggest fish you caught last week? I was getting some great video, man.
So I think, I didn't have my scales with me. He was 20, right at 25 inches. I'm saying he was between 9 and 10.
Whoa.
That was a nice one when I caught him. That was fun, just watching him jump and tear the water up and all that kind of stuff. That whole place I got, man, it's like an awesome place. And I enjoy going out there, and there's a lot of thought that goes in while I'm out there. I go out there by myself a lot of times to fish because my wife used to go, but then we got married. She wouldn't go anymore. So I don't know what that was about. But anyway, I go by myself sometimes now, and that's some peaceful time out there to kind of just reflect and do some fishing and catch a few fish. But I enjoy going out there, and I love the fish. So it's a lot of fun.
No, it was obvious. It was awesome. If you ever come by and you just see a little shanty out there, that's probably me. Don't worry about it. I got you, bud. All right, man. Have a great start, man, this week.
Take care. See you,
all right, brother.
Bye-bye.
All right, there you go. Todd Grantham, defensive coordinator at UAB. How great is that? A lot of insight. You can kind of get a feel for how it's going to look. And so Tech fans, you can get a feel how it's going to look. First-year staff at UAB, first-year staff in Blacksburg, right? So really cool, really cool. What's also cool is our sponsors. Thanks to Sundown Electric for sponsoring this program. I keep hearing people rave reviews about them. They're just reaching out randomly. Hey, it's great you have Sundown on because they did this for me. They did that for me. Reach out to them, give them a call. Jeff Smith, his brother, awesome at what they do. Bob Christ and the Ready Set Fund, ReadySetFund.com, help you raise as much money as you maybe need for your organization or group. $4,300 for Floyd County. They surpassed last year, their softball team. New uniforms, equipment, you need gloves, bats. They took care of it through the Ready Set Fund. Look it up. Thanks to Brandon at Top Shelf Apparel. Thanks to the NRV Super Bowl for all their assistance. Thanks to Lawson's Mobile Home Supply for all their help. Don't forget, we're going to be doing our bash officially at the NRV Super Bowl. Professional Door Incorporated, sponsor of our text line. And, man, it is a lot like the chat room. It just never stops. 38 years in business for Travis Williams. Professional Door Incorporated, residential, commercial garage doors. Nobody does it better. National Bank member FDIC, thanks to Lara Ramsey, my exclusive banking partner, and the show's exclusive banking partner. The attorney, Ryan Pry. What's your big upset? Send them in, and everybody jump into our group, Big Dog Sports Talk. Let's have fun picking the tournament. Tell your friends. Anybody can join. Subscribe to the channel, too. We'll ask you what you think your big upset's going to be, and we'll try to have that in before – I guess we have to have it in before Thursday. So we'll cut it short a little bit. Ryan Price, 701 West Main Street. He specializes in trust and estate planning. Little River Heating and Air. Nobody does heating and air any better than Little River. 540-553-2971. Plain and simple. Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment. There's not, I don't think, a group that creates more optimism about humanity than Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment, what Jonathan Sweet and Tim Miller are doing. Stacey Compson will be on this week. We're going to talk more about the IHRA partnership. McClellan Chiropractic, Mark Hunley over of Walters Drive, 155 Walters Drive, sponsor of our chat room. And I will get over there soon for the filming of the back cracking. And Family Fencing, sponsor of our studio here in Reiner, 540-282-94, familyfencingnrv.com. I spoke to Jason Green. He said we're just out all the time, getting quotes, people wanting to know more about how to get their yards looking nice. And it's standing. Great partners. But good stuff. Thanks for the questions for Todd. That's fun, isn't it? You can just sense it, just like it is over in Blacksburg. Good show today. A lot of good stuff today. The Virginia Tech situation is going to be very interesting with basketball. The vibe we got here in chat, much different than what, Chris gave you the numbers about people were very upset about basketball not playing in the NIT. I just wasn't surprised. Like I said, we had Mike Young on, and he said we're not thinking about anything but one goal. We have one linear goal. Boom. Now, when you leave it up to the team, it's not the same as it used to be. Because guys are mercenaries now. They're coming to get paid. I don't know how much you ask them, but I do know that as far as what I know, Wayne, and you brought it up, and, Chris answered it, guys may expect more money for the postseason, but that's not how it works in pay for play. Like, I don't believe there were any contractual things with the Radford kids, for instance, if we'd have won the Big South and made the NCAA. I don't think that's how it works. But it was a good question because people may want to know. It makes sense, right? You have incentives in pro ball, play in the postseason, win certain games. Coaches, they make a bowl game, they make it in the postseason, they get a little bump. So, yeah, it's a really good question. Really good question. Those of you on the text line, it's easy. It's just Big Dog Sports Talk. Yeah. In the Tournament Challenge, ESPN Tournament Challenge. I was going to go Yahoo, but that one's always a little funky. So I just went with the ESPN Tournament Challenge. It'll have them up. You have until Thursday. Those of you that are asking, no, you do not have to pick the first 4 games that start tomorrow. But if you think somebody's going to win in the first 4 and then win a tournament game, we'll have to see. We'll have to see how that goes. Yeah, I'm sure they do, Wayne, and they may have things written in there, sure. Incentive clauses, just like you should have incentive clauses to protect the school. that if you don't win a certain amount of games, or if you don't average a certain amount of points, that then maybe your money's not guaranteed. I like it. Pay for play. How about pay for performance? You mean like the rest of us, Morris? Yes, 100%. Like everybody else in the working world that's getting money? Well, some money. Not that kind of money. I like it. I like it. But no, the first 4 games, you don't have to go through and pick early. So you don't have just one day. You have until Thursday. But for instance, I think Texas NC State winners, regardless, may have a shot against BYU. I really do. Then you have to think about it from that perspective. But no, you have until Thursday. So no rush in terms of having it done today or tomorrow. A lot of people feel theirs out early. I am not an early guy. I'm going to wait probably until Wednesday. And I want to see how the first 4 games go. But yeah, join Big Dog Sports Talk, DAWG. It's free. It's fun, and we'll see who rules BDST. And we'll have some prizes in there for the winner, too. We'll see. Yeah, noon Thursday, Wayne. So jump in there. I sent you the link. I think I sent you the link. Yeah, you have until right before whatever the first game is on Thursday, 12:07. I think they're cutting it off at 11 Eastern. I think I saw that. That might be wrong, but at the earliest is 11 a.m., but it may go until noon. Seems like now they have them locked in at 11. I might be wrong about that. Yeah. Yeah. Right, Morris. 100%. You got to perform. But that's interesting. It's interesting. And hopefully we'll get David Till on this week, and I want to ask him about that. I mean, you see him there on the video. It made its rounds around X. He stood up at the presser. This was 2 years ago. Would you accept a bid to the NIT? Oh, absolutely. We would never turn down a bid to keep playing. We're all competitive people here. Whatever, the paraphrasing, of course, what Mike Young said. A year later, we're not playing. And that's, wow, what a story by Chris. Somebody was going to get a endowed scholar, going to pay for the whole scholarship endowment. They pulled it. Perception is reality. Regardless of what's reality, perception is reality. Right? So I wasn't surprised. As a matter of fact, honestly, I didn't think twice about it because I saw it. I was like, oh, okay, well, he told us that. And then I saw people just going nuts. I'm like, whoa, what's going on? Yeah, he said that on the show back in November. Yeah. J.D. Byers said it. He was on in December. Yeah. I didn't expect him to play in the NIT. That's why I was surprised about a week and a half ago. I was told they would likely accept a bid. I was like, okay. So to say that I'm not bothered by it would be an understatement. Okay. I mean, like I say, the bottom line is people might be upset about that part of it, but how excited would you be if Tech was playing Marist in the NIT in Blacksburg? And then you got to pay all those people. And then what does it mean even if you advance and win it? Woohoo! You used to be able to say, we're number 65. Now it's like, are you number 69 or are you number – we got all these other tournaments? And I agree with Chris 100%. I think the NIT is done. I think this will be the last year or maybe next year, and then it's done. Yeah, you go, Wayne. He has season tickets. He's like, I guarantee you, Wayne, you probably didn't think twice about it either. I didn't. No, money does not guarantee you a good team, 100%. And to Chris's point, he made a great point. They have backed themselves into a corner because he had the date the 15th. Well, this happened, and they're getting all this negative feedback. So how can you then, as an athletic department, release, hey, we're extending the coach who upset so many of you? I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying that's the perception again. A lot of questionable things coming out over there. I'm just going to say it the way it is. And I've experienced it really for the first time here with the whole Megan Duffy Yeah, that's great. We'd love to have her on. She'd love that. Yeah, she remembers you. All right, good. Let's go. Hello? Hello? Nothing. We will make a show about nothing. I think you may have something there. Many questions about text riser. I would say 0. Whether you call that being jaded or just knowing how this works, we just heard from Coach Lind. People are asking how many of these tech guys will be back. Hammond, so-and-so, none. You got to rebuild the whole thing every year. I'm just going on what coaches tell me throughout the year. I talked to a lot of coaches throughout the college basketball season. None. And if you end up getting more than 1 or 2, hey, that's a win. Take that dub. But I think the expectation should be entire roster has to be rebuilt. That should be the expectation. Then if that changes and if it's different, awesome. Awesome. Don't be hard, Wayne. Be soft. Let's get them a participation trophy. Why would we go? So we can be throwing on a stupid better? Yeah, exactly. It's just NIT used to mean a little something. It doesn't mean anything. It hasn't meant anything in a long time, but it really doesn't mean anything now at all. So to be honest, I totally get why they're not playing in it. I really do. I totally understand it. What a great show. Please subscribe, like, and share the channel. We had great stuff today, huh? Donny Lind, head coach at Mount St. Mary's, giving you some bracket information. I hope you were paying attention. Chris Coleman was excellent as always. Follow them on their podcast a little later today and later this week. Football starts in Blacksburg. And Todd Grantham. Man, you get that insight about how it's working, and it's going to be very similar in Blacksburg this week and everywhere across the country. It was, Morris. Yeah, the NIT was the big tournament. Absolutely, 100%. NCAA was just kind of a Absolutely it was. Not any longer, however. Not any longer. We'll be back tomorrow on the Tuesday edition. We'll see how everything plays out. I know Brian Siegel will be with us. And we'll talk to Marva if she's pre-planning how disappointed she's going to be after VCU eliminates her Tar Heels. Tomorrow on the program. Take care, everybody. Thanks for your input. Go join our BDST Tournament Challenge. Big Dog, DAWG Sports Talk. 4 words. Go join, jump in. And you can go ahead and jump in. You don't have to pick. You can just get in there, though. And then just go back to your bracket, whatever you name it. So you'll see mine. Mine is the, people have asked, mine's the Wizards of Westwood, going back to Coach Wood and the Bruins. You know, who won 10 national titles in 12 years. Everybody take care. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. We'll see you tomorrow on the Tuesday edition. Don't forget, you can go back every day on the channel, watch the shorts that are created. If you missed anything, boom, it's there. It's awesome. Please subscribe, spread the word, join our group. We'll see you.